Hello, welcome back to the We Are More Than Moms podcast. And today's episode is something I've written many guides about, something we've posted a lot about, which is travel, especially travel with two. And both Annabelle and I went on a trip with both our kids, and we want to dive into it and help you guys if you're planning on a next trip, or even just to reduce the fear surrounding travel, because I know everyone gets so anxious. So let's dive right in.
Yeah, I think I just want to start by saying a lot of people like to fearmonger, as you were saying, Dale, about traveling with kids and saying it's just easier to stay home. It's not a trip. I mean, it's not a vacation, it's a trip. And you know that saying, but I've had the most amazing memories on these trips, and I know you have too. And it's not about maybe it's like not the easiest thing, and maybe it's messy, and maybe it's not relaxing, but it's so amazing for your family, I find. And I'm become a better mom from it. I love seeing the world from my kids in this like new way, seeing their eyes see things for the first time. Like we were just in Aspen, and Gemma got to see a mountain really for the first time, and she was just so amazed. And all of those life experiences are so incredible, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I kept thinking like, oh, it's not going to be relaxing, it's not going to be fun, I'm going to have the kids and all that.
And I completely agree, because we're very routine based, and it can be very scary to, with time change and travel and not having your stuff. But first of all, although it's very different than just traveling solo or with your husband or partner, there are still a lot of aspects of going on a trip as a family that are like a vacation. For example, if you're staying in a hotel, you don't have to clean up. You don't have to prep meals. You don't have to worry about making it to class on time. You don't have to worry about dinner at the in-laws. Like, all you have to worry about is like getting there. And then once you're there, it can be super relaxing. Yes, there is a lot of logistics involved, and we'll get into that. But I think people forget there's a lot of day-to-day of parenting that we actually can let go of when we travel. Now, it depends where and how you travel, obviously, but for the most part, on a vacation or on a trip, it is this like nice release. And also, it really changes you as a parent, because if you are very rigid in your day-to-day, which I understand, I'm such a routine girl myself. I love my kids napping at a certain time and showering at a certain time, bathing, whatever. But you realize that you survived even if things didn't go perfect, and they actually were okay. And it took me until my first trip to realize that.
Yeah, you're so right. It's like you have this release of control. I find that a lot. And when we went to go live in Paris last summer, and I just had to let go of it all, like the food she ate, the time she went to bed, the naps if she didn't sleep at all. Like, you just have to just let go, and then you're able to actually enjoy your trip so much more, because you're not concerned, and your headspace is not always like you're at dinner and like, oh my God, I have to leave right now because she has to be home for bedtime. It's like, why don't you just like sometimes enjoy the moment? This is what I tell myself in my head. Like, why don't I just enjoy this moment? And then if she goes to bed 30 minutes later, no one's died.
Exactly.
Like, it's fine.
And I also think it's so crazy, but when you remove yourself from your environment, like your house that you live in or your apartment, wherever, when you remove yourself into a new environment, you open your eyes to so much more, and you learn so much more about your child. Like, I'm like, wow, doing the same thing every day, I actually didn't see a lot of growth that was happening. It was like in front of my face. I'm like, wait, how did he know how to do that? Look at this joy. Like, when you're doing the same thing every single day, you're going to get the same results. Yes, of course, they, grow naturally. But when you really take yourself out of that environment and put your family in a new environment, I think you really open your eyes and see things you've never seen before.
Yeah, you see their growth, and then you see your growth as a family together.
So we're as you can tell, we're pro travel with your family. Maybe not every week, but we like to travel once in a while. And we also
push each other. Like, I remember sometimes I'd tell you,
yeah,
I'm really like feeling my routine right now. Like, I don't want to have to get up. And yeah, it's sometimes we have to like push ourselves out of our comfort zone, but it's a million times worth it. So let's start with the prep for the trip. I know, Dale, you're really good at this part.
This is my favorite part. So prep. First of all, I always use ChatGPT. My prompt in ChatGPT is, okay, I'll give you an example. I'm going to Toronto for 6 days with my two sons. One is 9 months old. One is 2.5 years old. It's the summertime. We're staying at my parents' house. What do I need to bring? and make a downloadable list. Okay? It gets very specific. They give me a list and then I work from there. I'm like, okay, he doesn't need this, he doesn't need that. And what can I actually ship or have my mom get for me so I don't have to lug it with us? What does that usually look like? Diapers, wipes, Aquaphor, a baby bath seat. A lot of the stuff she thankfully already has, but I'm always thinking, what can I reduce and get there? Like, can I get the formula there? Sometimes not. So you have to account for that. Always bring extra formula too, and an extra one in your carry-on. You just never know. And I always think getting that prepped in advance, it is very hard to pack for yourself and for your kids. But if you get a list from ChatGPT, I promise you it makes it so much easier.
Yes. And you go through the list and you say, what can I ship directly to the hotel, as you said. So with Gemma, when we were in Aspen, I got a potty online on Amazon and I shipped it directly to the hotel. I also got bottles of water shipped there because I didn't want to pay $19 per bottle from the hotel, directly there for the formula bottles. And then one of the most game changer things that I just recently discovered is a company called BabyQuip, or any other rental company, where you can rent things like strollers, bouncers, car seats, things like that. So for me, I didn't want to have to schlep like the bouncer for Griffin or a stroller or a car seat. So I just rented it. And I think it was like $8 a day for the time that I was there. But obviously look at the pricing, because sometimes it's easier just to buy one there, or bring it with you. But for something like that, it just made a lot of sense for us to rent.
Yeah, I actually use BabyQuip too, not only for rentals, but they also clean strollers.
Oh, good to know.
If you need. So that is the prep. We, obviously start in advance. And
packing cubes are
super helpful. I usually have one big duffel and like an away bag, and one of my kids gets one side, the other gets the other. Also, it's nice usually if you don't have to do laundry on vacation, so pack extra things.
Also, one thing is that pack an extra set of clothes for you on the plane.
Yes. We both had blowouts on the plane. Well, our kids have had blowouts. Both. I did not have an extra shirt, and I ended up packing, I think, in my diaper bag. He had 2 pants and no shirt, and I needed one of each. So just make sure, pack yourself an outfit and your child an
outfit. And don't forget about yourself, because sometimes you need to have to change too.
Yes. Okay, so now like what goes where, and like what do you bring on the plane versus what you pack? I would say try to keep it as minimal as possible. What we do is I pack a diaper bag with the essentials. So what formula do they need what bottles do they need, what diapers, anything changing related, what they need, clothes. And then we have a separate like a shopping bag filled with, that's where the snacks go. So, because that's going to be thrown out at the end, and I want to save the space. And then I recently, on my latest trip, packed, and you can check on our Instagram because we have the whole highlight, a mini backpack that Leo would carry, filled with all his entertainment toys. And we do bring an iPad, but we also had toys. So we kind of were able to spread everything out. And then like things, if I need to work on my trip, my laptop, that I'll put in the suitcase, because I can't carry that anymore when I have so much stuff.
Yeah, I did the same thing as you. Gemma had her own backpack with all the activities. Diaper bag was mostly for Griffin stuff. And I think like keeping the things at the top that you're going to grab for. So we actually don't use the pacifier anymore, but I did bring the pacifier on the flight for the way up or the way down if he wasn't feeding, because he was only one bottle was for the way up, but on the way down, since it was a short flight, I wanted his ears to kind of be like, he wanted him to be swallowing. So I did bring the pacifier.
Yes.
Another thing is I brought a lot of Ziploc bags. I don't know about you, but I always need like a Ziploc bag. If there's a blowout and you need to put it in a Ziploc bag, or something that needs to go in there, always have those handy. And then the flight, it's like you need to just leave room for shit not to go right, and just expect it not to go right. And if it's great, then great, you're above your expectations. But I think a lot of people have this expectation that it needs to go perfect and we can't have any glares or any meltdowns, or what are people going to think? But in our opinions, just like let go of it all. Like babies and kids are allowed to be on flights. We're all humans. If other people have a problem with that, then they need to probably look in the mirror. This is not a reflection of you.
Totally. I feel like so many people worry, what if my child cries on the plane? What if they have a tantrum? In those moments, just try your best. I know it's so hard and there's so many tips people give, but the only thing I can seem to remember in those moments is just focus on your child. Just try to block out everything around you, take care of your child's needs, because what happens when we start worrying about what everyone else is thinking, the noise feels louder, and I feel like our anxiousness can definitely transfer to how we act and react, and it's already, they're crying. It is what it is. Let's not try to elevate our own anxiety around that, and things will calm down. So just laser focus. You're in a vacuum with your child at that moment. Like, what can you do? And usually, from my experience, the flight attendants have been really nice, except for my last trip, actually. They're all very sweet. But one flight attendant, this like older man, thought it was funny to like wake my child up from a nap. So in case that happens, like, I don't know, but I experienced that. I was like, really? They just got down. But also with the naps, which is something we wanted to talk about, is it's very normal to feel like, okay, well, when are they going to nap? Like, what's the situation? Like, I hope they nap like their full 2-hour nap. Actually, it's totally okay if they don't, and that naps are a shit show, because let me tell you, especially when you're changing time zones, it actually helps you get on the new time zone because they're so exhausted. So don't stress out. Like, for example, if I'm going from West Coast to East Coast, to get them on the time frame, and I always do encourage people to try your best to switch them. It just makes it easier.
Wait, you switched the kids on the?
I would say I didn't go all the way, but I did an 8 to 8 schedule, more or less, than a 7 to 7.
I usually stay on LA time zone when I go.
Okay, so whatever you prefer, but if you do want to switch them, then you can put them down. If they don't nap, it's really easy to put them down. They'll probably fall asleep because they're so tired.
So what are your thoughts? A lot of people ask about like the bassinet on the airplanes, you know, like the,
yes,
what is it called?
There's a bassinet. So there's a few ways you can fly with a baby. A toddler, once they're 2, they have to have their own seat. And I do recommend like even earlier than that. So when they're under 2, is it under 2 or under 12 months?
I think the bassinet's under
2
months.
Oh, no, just under 2 they can fly on your lap. Infant on lap, under 2. Yes, it's under 2. They can fly in your lap. So when would you choose to get them a seat versus toddler on our baby on lap? This is what this is my pro and con list. If your flight is a shorter duration, let's say like 1 to 4 hours, and it's an expensive flight or whatever, you want to save money, you're nursing your baby, maybe you have a toddler as well where you need to get another seat for, I would say you would totally be fine with the baby on your lap, because if you're feeding, they're contact napping. You might have them on you anyway, where having an extra seat might be a waste. However, if you're doing an overnight flight, or it's longer, or maybe they're bigger, so they're crawling around a lot and they need the room, then it might be worth it to purchase a seat. Two other options are, you can get an exit row if the airplane allows it. Not every airplane has this option to get a bassinet. Now, you can only use the bassinet up till before they start to sit up. So it's usually under 6 months. So it's a very short window. We tried the bassinet. It didn't even work out that well.
Didn't work.
But the other option you could do is, if you do have the infant on lap, you can bring a small like muslin towel or like blanket and like lay it out for them, and like at parts of the plane, so that they can be like kind of like sitting and they can have a little more room. And that's what we did our last flight.
Yeah, I will say the thing about the bassinet is we tried that when we were going to Europe, and I was like, oh, it's great. She'll sleep the entire time in the bassinet. But what I didn't know, which the flight attendants happily told me, was that each time the seatbelt sign goes on, which is all the time, you have to take them out. So if I got her to sleep in the bassinet and the seatbelt sign went on, I had to take her out, remove her from sleeping, and hold her, and then put her back. That just defeats the whole purpose. I might as well just keep her in my arms the whole time.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. So at that point, that's why I don't think that the bassinet is so
How about those flyaway
reliable.
beds?
Those I heard are not like the inflatable ones.
Yeah.
I've also heard mixed reviews on those, and that's why I'm just like, if an exit row is helpful because you'll get the room, and if you want to pay for that extra space, that is great. But I just think that having the option as bassinet, sure, go for it, but it's not always guaranteed or always worth it. And one thing that I really like to do on flights with a baby is, so getting them to nap and fall asleep, I always do bring a carrier. I think that is super helpful. And usually, and like especially in bigger planes where they like have for the in the middle of the plane where there's like, you know, they're preparing the food, or it's in between first class and business class and economy. There's usually like kind of near the bathroom like a
Little
cove where you can like stand, and that is exactly where I put the baby in the carrier and just like rock him to sleep. And with both kids, that has always been my like little area, and I just stand there with the carrier until they fall asleep, and then I go back to the seat.
Meanwhile, I'm like walking up and down the aisles with the carrier because I find that the movement helps. Like I think if I'm like just in that little cove that you're talking about, he like knows that I'm standstill versus like
It does
when I'm
work.
moving. Yeah.
But you have to move. You have to kind of like bounce.
Move a bit. Yeah, bounce. Like I totally understand. But overall, I think like that's high level on the flight. I mean, you can't really get around the whole diaper changing station in the bathroom. I mean, that's not pleasant experience, but you just do what you got to do.
Oh yeah, that's also a situation, and it depends on the flight you have. My husband and I really do like to look at the actual plane that we're booking. Sometimes not always the time, it's the actual plane. Like, oh, this is a big new plane versus like a small plane that has, you know, no big like the exit row seats or all the, you know how like some planes are just smaller. Yeah. So I think that if you can take that into account and there's options, changing in the bathroom is not the most fun thing ever, but I would say bring a distracting toy or use your phone if you have to. And sometimes if you can, this past flight I couldn't because I have the toddler, but my husband would like keep the door open, honestly, and he would like stand on the other side and be the receiving end of like the diaper. This time I did it by myself and it was totally okay. I would always bring like a little either doggy pee pad so you can throw it out after, or a reusable mat for the changes, because those are like definitely
I actually really do look at flight times too when I book my flights for the kids. Like I always make sure it's like works within the schedule, within their nap times or whatnot, even if it's fine if she doesn't naps, but it just like kind of works versus like a too late flight.
And yes, I agree with the timing. I think that if you can work it around the naps and their schedule, it's much
the mornings
better.
Just feel better.
Mornings feel much better. And then also one thing that's you should really do ahead of time. My last flight didn't have bottled water, so we had to feed my son a bottle. Thank God my husband had just enough water left from his Poland Spring to give to my baby, because the flight attendant was like, "Oh, we just like don't have water on this flight, like bottled water," and they're like, "We ran out or something." And I was like, "What would I have done?" So just always make sure to.
I usually get that in the airport.
Yeah, usually I do too, but we just had so much stuff. But just as an FYI, to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to the hotel. I don't know about you, but what we normally do, my husband and I, this time around, I took Griffin for a walk to get him to nap, and I left a room, and my husband was with Gemma, and he likes to like baby proof / get the room organized. And by baby proof, I mean like sometimes there's like sharp objects or things that are out that maybe we can put away. Like we walked into our room and there was a whole jug of like hard candy. It's like, again, that will be put in the closet, things like that. Then he kind of figures out, oh, wait, before I get a hotel, I look at the floor plan. I have the hotel send me the floor plan of the room. And the reason why I do this is because I need to figure out where I can put the crib. So I know that if Gemma and Griffin share a room, if they're both in the same room, Gemma's going to wake him up. So I figured out how to put Griffin in the bathroom. Sometimes it's a closet, sometimes it's a bathroom. But again, I needed the hotel to send me the dimensions of the bathroom to see if the crib could fit long ways inside of it. And then it would be much easier when I get there because I kind of already know like, okay, Griffin's going to go here, Gemma's going to go there. So highly recommend looking at the floor plan or emailing questions to the hotel. Another thing is the monitors. So we brought our Nanits with us this past time because they had a private network. But again, I emailed them in advance asking if there's a private network.
But yeah, let's talk about that because a lot of people make this mistake, and I did too my first trip.
So I email them and I say, hey, do you have a private network that I could log on to for my monitor? And if they say yes, then I'm like, great, I bring my Nanits. If they do not have that, then I need to bring a monitor without Wi-Fi.
So just to give a little like more context to this, because it's very confusing. When you look at a Wi-Fi at a hotel, sometimes it looks it's open. It's an open network. Anyone can join, but you have to log in using like your last name and your room number. That is still an open network. And Wi-Fi monitors like a Nanit or an Owlet will not work on an open network. So a lot of these hotels are like, well, they have Wi-Fi and you just log in. It's not going to work. So you either can, there's a couple things. You can either call and see if they will make a private network for you. I actually have, and they said no. Or you can get a hotspot in some way, but that is not reliable enough Wi-Fi. And lastly is that you just have to bring a monitor that you can use not on Wi-Fi. So like that more older school one, we have one that's like a Motorola. So if you can use the Wi-Fi one, great, but you don't want to get stuck. So really make sure that you're checking into this before you get your destination.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're an Airbnb or you're at a relative's house or something, like you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, just a
Yeah,
pro tip.
another thing is that a lot of hotels actually already have cribs, so you can call them in advance and ask for the cribs.
Yeah.
But one thing that I thought of before we went to was that the mattress heights are different, right? So like I needed them to make sure that the mattress heights for Griffin was higher than it is for Gemma. So that's something, again, to like reach out. But a lot of hotels do have cribs, and they also typically will have a bathtub, like an infant bathtub. And then they put like cute little towels and whatnot. But another pro tip, if you are really in a pickle and your monitors don't work, sometimes what I've done with my husband is I'll leave my phone on FaceTime and I'll put my phone up and I'll FaceTime my husband, and then my husband can kind of like see it. Like obviously
Yes.
that means he won't be able to use his phone
And you
pretty
won't
much.
be able to use yours.
And I won't be able to use mine. But like
But
if
you
I'm
were-
really
if you
in
were
a
screwed.
pickle.
Yeah.
And then one thing we did is that because we were in a hotel and the Nanits worked and we had our monitors, it was nice because in the mornings when we woke up, my husband and I would sometimes use the gym downstairs in the hotel, and we felt comfortable leaving the kids in the room because we were just downstairs and I could see them on the monitors.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that I remember you told me you did that, and that is a good tip. And also with the crib heights, technically, because I took Luke to Hawaii when he was 3.5 months old, and it was that like basic lower crib. They can totally be on the
That's
lower
fine, but
setting,
not for the
not for
toddler.
the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, because it's just a matter of like you reaching over. We
Exactly.
actually lowered the crib today for him, but
Sad.
yeah. So for the toddler,
Can you talk about what you do for the bathtub when there's no bathtub?
Oh, yes. Okay. So we didn't have a bathtub situation when we went to Hawaii. There was a big bathtub, but no bath seat, and we couldn't get it. I don't remember exactly what went on, but what I ended up doing, I did a makeshift bathtub for Luke, and it worked out really great. You just have to have it's a lot of on your end holding them up. So I made a little bath in the sink, and because I was obviously wanting the back part to be soft, because obviously the rim of the sink can be quite
Hard.
sharp. I took like 3 towels and I just made them really thick, and like, okay, they got soaked, no big deal. And I put them draping over the sink and into the sink. So it was like this long, imagine like a towel being folded up lengthwise like 3 times. And then I did that with another one. So he was basically bathing in towels. So if you were to like slip, he wouldn't slip. And I was holding him up with one arm, and then I was bathing him with the other. So it was a little bit difficult, but we made it work, and he still got his bath every night. So it ended up being okay. And then I didn't have to worry in case something happened and he slipped, like he would be okay, because I had it really padded. But yeah.
Another thing that's a great thing to add to your packing list always is the portable white noise machines. That just comes in handy, especially when you're in tight quarters so that they don't hear you. Okay, Dale, what else
Yes.
while you're there?
So, and also pro tip, if you are able to use a Nanit, the Nanit has a built-in white noise machine, which I didn't even know until
Same.
recently. Okay, so one thing that I really also recommend if you are sharing a room with your baby could be a slumber pod. I never really used one. Maybe I used one once before, but the slumber pod helps block out noise and sound. So if you're sharing a room with the baby or toddler, you're able to move around, turn the lights on, because it's like their own little blackout tent. Now, when we went to Hawaii with the 2 kids, we got like 2 connecting rooms, and we put Luke in the bathroom, which was kind of like a handicap bathroom. It was big enough to put in a crib, and then Leo would be on the outside. So yeah, I guess definitely look into the slumber pod. And food routines. Let's talk about food, because that's a big one.
Dale told me when I first went on my trip, she was like, it's so much better. You don't have to clean up. And it really is so nice that you don't have to clean up, because I think I spend so much of my time cleaning up after the kids when they eat.
It's such a big thing, is that cleanup, and then having food readily available. Yes, it might not mean they get these organic homemade patties with but you know what? You're on vacation and it's easier. So I would say for food, I mean, especially with babies, and we were in Mexico together, Annabelle and I, when we had Leo and Gemma were under a year old, and we asking for a side of avocado, asking, cheese quesadillas, like very simple.
Oatmeal is a good one. Fruit platters.
Those really, that would be a big, we were saved by quesadillas.
Yeah.
And then one also really important thing I want to mention about transportation that a lot of people don't think about is the drive to and from the airport, and then also when you get there to the hotel or where you're staying. So you have to think, you have to book cars with car seats.
Yeah.
Or if you bring a portable car seat. So that's just one thing to really keep in mind. Or if you rent a car, to make sure that you hire someone or have that transportation set
it's
up.
fine when you have the Duna and they can fit into it because it's the stroller car seat. But when they're not, it's annoying to have to bring like a big car seat. So we typically will book a car service that has a car seat there. And then if we really need a car seat while we're there, then we'll rent one from one of those sites like Baby Quip, and then just give it back when we're done.
Yes, that's a great point. And then I need a post-trip decompression. Mm-hmm. I find I need that buffer time. So I never come back on a Sunday evening when I know I'm getting back to work on Monday. Like, I need that day. And I kind of always love that day because it's like a reset. Maybe I'll go to the beach with my kids. But I still tell everyone I'm away so that I just have that space,
I love that you do that.
And we get back on a Saturday most times. And then Sunday is where we can reset, have the morning. Yep. Maybe if you can hire help or get an in-law or your parents to help or a friend to come and help, just so you have that time so you're not stressed, or if your flight gets canceled or if your flight gets delayed, like you have that extra buffer. I know it doesn't always make sense for everyone, especially if you're at a wedding and it's a Saturday night or you have limited time. But if you do have a big window of time, I would really suggest it.
Yeah, I came right into it. I dealt with flight delays and cancellations and came right into it this time. And it's really overwhelming because you have to not only get yourself back into action and routine, but you also have to deal with the kids, and you have to do all the laundry and the unpacking and get them back on their routine. So it can be overwhelming if you're just jumping right back into it. So buffer days are good. I learned that from you. Sometimes not always possible, but good if you can.
Yes, I'm big on the buffer days, but I agree, not always possible. Yeah, so I guess that is, obviously with one, it was definitely a little more simple. And with two, you really have to divide and conquer if you can with your partner. I cannot give any mom's advice for traveling with two solo. I have not been there.
Yeah.
But with two parents and two children, I think, really try to lean into distracting the toddler with, if you have to bring out the iPad or toys, just because the baby has more frequent needs, although they're more simple, but they're frequent with the feeds and the naps and this and that. The toddler, yes, always wants snacks. So come prepared. Lots of snacks, different textures of snacks, crunchy, salty, sweet, chewy, like all the different, like make it an activity, okay?
Gail has the best snacks. She always goes to Whole Foods right before she goes, and she comes out with this like massive bag of like every sort of snacks.
Yeah, come prep.
But one thing I also will say is that I find the hardest part of traveling with kids is logistics, whether that be getting from point A to point B, like once you're in the hotel, again, having to get from point A to point B. And one thing that we really removed this trip is logistics, because we stayed in a hotel that was in the town. So we did not have to, there was no car rides. There was no like, how do we get here? The travel time from here to here is 10 minutes and all that. And it just felt so much more easeful to just be able to like walk outside. And I think in past trips, like if I would go with my husband, maybe I'd stay somewhere further out with a view and more calming. And now I'm all about like, I also choose the location of the hotels based on the fact that I have kids now to just make it more easy.
Kid friendly.
And then I also will say, I know some people travel with nannies or, family or whatnot. But one thing I did when we were away as well is that we found local nannies. to help watch the kids while they were napping so that we could go out, and same with at night. And I just found it so much easier because like while I love my nanny and I'd love like to travel with her, it's first of all so expensive, and second of all there's not that much space. Like there's really like not that much space, and if you're someone that really values your space like we do, it's just really hard, I think, to travel with an extra person. And I think that sometimes just finding local help to cover during nap time and bedtime so that you can go out is amazing. And I actually really enjoyed not having any help. Like I loved being with my kids, but I also think that's because like I had this like a different mindset. Like I was just like, bring on the chaos. Like I didn't care about trying to control things, what they ate, when they slept, when they napped. I was just kind of like, bring it on. Like I'm here for the experience of this beautiful family trip, and that I feel so grateful to have. And I really think going into a travel trip with your family, just try to like remove expectations, because I think the expectations are the things that really come to bite you.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I know you had an absolute chaotic trip home, and you were just like one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. I'm not going to overwhelm myself with every little thing that is about to incur. It would just, you really took it one step at a time. And I think that's sometimes how we have to look at it when we're in the thick of traveling. Just, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Check mark, you know. So I think that's
yeah, and also find your closest park to where your hotel is or wherever you're staying. If you're staying with family, it's always nice to like have that one park nearby, so you can take the kids, and it's like a nice like first stomping ground.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's
our
travel
updated travel episode. And let us, and if you need more in depth and you want to see, we have a guide on our Patreon too, so you can check that out.
Dale put it together. It's very good.
Thanks. Bye guys.